first of all, hello everyone. My name is Hinojosa, and I will be the moderator of the panel of today. I'm tech expert in the global IT innovation team in Nestle, and I'm glad to be with Sara, Justin, and Jeremy. They will help us to understand how Nestle is launching a global employee VR training program and a customer experience program. So please introduce yourself, and we can keep going.
Hi, thank you very much for the introduction, David. I'm Sara from VRdirect and leading key account management there.
Justin Parry, COO and co-founder at Immerse. We have a platform and we do content, and I own the strategy for that, but also run the teams that deliver those things.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy Moussai. I'm a Global IT Innovation Manager at Nestle, leading XR. Thank you for having us.
So, thank you. Surely all of you already know Nestle, but well, just I would like to share with you several numbers. No? Nestle is a company of more of 100, thank you, and 50 years providing safe and quality nutrition, and it has presence in more than, well, in 196 countries. It has over 270 employees and more than 2,000 brands. So basically, if we consider the sales during the last year, it was the biggest food and beverage company of the world. But the times are changing fast, and what's good today it is not enough for tomorrow. That's why there are 354 factories that they are preparing for the future. Consider the challenge of satisfying the needs of 10 billion of people by 2050 in a responsible and sustainable way. So basically, this demands innovation and change. And that's why we're here. No? In the global IT innovation, we explore several technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, data management, and extended reality to make it real and help us to solve the problems of the future. So Sara, Justin, and Jeremy basically are scaling extended reality and Nestle, and it is not easy. So let's go to the first questions. I will start with you, Jeremy. So what has been the focus of Nestle for XR over the last few years?
Great question. So to start with, to give you a bit of context, I joined Nestle in 2019. In 2018, like the XR space finally was under the radar. There was no VR, AR, XR global strategy before that. So we started with a small team, like 2, 3, 4 people, like looking at this very exciting space. So what we've been doing and what we're doing now is to identify like the right solutions in the XR space where we can see that there should be a fit for what we call our IT product streams and our businesses at Nestle and our brands, so we can like see we have a competitive advantage. So that's what we've been focusing on. We launched some programs around augmented reality, which was, let's say, the more mature technology back in the days. Then I was hired specifically to launch the VR strategy because I have a background in this. I started in 2014, 2015 when I used to have my company in Paris, France. And we started working with VRdirect and Immerse in 2019 because we found out that they were like pioneering. They had a vision in where we could definitely win this battle of like putting a name on in Nestle in regards to XR, because no one knew, to be honest, in a company such as Nestle, which is a food company, what this space was about. And now we're going to tell you a bit more what we're planning to do, what we have achieved so far. But I'll let Sara and Justin give a heads up on their expertise and what they're doing with us.
Well, you already explained it, no? Basically, which are the players are partnering in Nestlé to explore this XR space. Already you mentioned it, Immerse and VRdirect. So let's go ahead with the next question, no? Where are you both playing a role, and where are you focusing on?
You want to go?
I think it's going
No,
to be
well,
a slide.
It's my slide first.
Yeah.
Okay. So we offer two things to Nestlé. We have a platform that enables creation, distribution, tracking, and integration of really any VR content. And so we use that to primarily at Nestlé to distribute the content and to ensure standardized metrics, tracking, reporting, and those sorts of things. But crucially, the other part of what we do is to offer content that can come from many sources. So we have an internal team that develops bespoke content, and we've done that for Jeremy and the team, but we also have an SDK, so anybody else can create content, and we also have something called the Marketplace. And the Marketplace is essentially a library of content from lots and lots of vendors, covering lots of topics, and you buy that on a license basis. It's off the shelf. So we've been providing the Marketplace content, bespoke services, and the platform to Jeremy and the team. And we focused in two areas initially, health and safety, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail shortly, and then also some knowledge-based learning for the Nespresso brand, which is essentially transporting employees to a Colombian coffee farm, where you can go and pick the cherries, pulp them up, dry them, and then obviously turn them into coffee, and you get to learn about the sustainable and ethical practices that the Nespresso employs on their AAA program. So it's kind of those two things, and then just to say on the health and safety side, alongside creating some bespoke content for them, we've also used some of our Marketplace content, which has come from another vendor as well. So lots of things.
So you can, go ahead with that. What are you doing in Nestlé, basically?
So in a few words, VRdirect is a no-code enterprise platform that allows employees within the company to create their own virtual reality projects. The platform includes a full infrastructure, our own cloud infrastructure, and native apps that allow you to deploy your project, or the project that the employees created, to web, mobile, but also to the leading VR devices. So we're really B2B focused, and we enable, and it's really important for me to make it that clear and high level, because we are in a world where there are tons of solutions, and it's really important kind of to know what do I need in my division, for example, and how can I, with which solution can I solve my problem. So we're really solving the problem of creating scalable, also cost-efficient, time-efficient content in basically when you want to enter the VR space. So our platform is easy to use. Trainees, often people who are doing internships, but also normal employees are using the platform to really do own projects in a field where 1 or 2 years ago they would have never imagined to be able to create something by themselves in VR. And now I would like to kind of talk a little bit more about also giving you an example what we have been doing with Nestle. The most important thing is first to identify really a use case that you want to support with VR. And at Nestle, I have to say that was done at a very early point. It doesn't sound early, but 2 years ago and 3 years ago, many companies have just started thinking about that, and it's really true. We have tons of great solutions here, but in many companies, this is just starting now. And so at Nestle, for example, we have already 3 years ago, there have been teams developing blueprints of virtual tours that employees could really do themselves. And so first blueprints were developed, and then other companies all around the globe could actually copy that concept and really easily do those projects themselves. So you have often you really need some consulting at the beginning. You have to speak to the divisions, you have to speak to the employees, so they really believe that it's easy to do. But then in the second step, if you have that blueprint, you can really roll out quickly. So at Nestle, they've identified virtual tours as really important elements to onboard people, to also support the recruiting, but especially to onboarding people in easy processes. Now we've done a first blueprint in the area of safety training, which means that like every employee who enters a factory needs to be aware of certain dangers. So not in all cases factories can do complex trainings, so what they can do as well is, with our platform, build their own safety trainings. Everybody's going to recognize his working place again. It's quickly done, it's scalable, and you can roll out to different areas.
True, and the biggest challenge, of course, like you saw those numbers that David shared with you. That's such a huge company, that's so complex. Scalability is key, and we know when you're talking about innovation space, XR space, we live in a constant evolving industry, so you need to be aware of what the priorities should be. And when we want to do like training for people, you can imagine training 270,000 people to find solutions which are mature enough to be industrialized. That takes time, a lot of internal discussion. So our job, David and myself here, is like especially to be, let's say, some kind of middleman between the business and the tech people, the tech partners. Because you can imagine, and we're going to be talking about this great achievement around safety in a minute. When you talk to safety experts, subject matter experts, what do you think? They don't know about XR, they don't know about VRs. And 3 years ago, when we started the journey, they had never put a headset. Either like, it could be an Oculus, it could be a Pico, an HTC. No one knew about this, so we had to do like evangelization, education. We had to do lots of demos together with those guys, with people who are really willing to make a big impact. So yeah, we'll talk to you about this success story in a minute.
Yeah, basically, what are the activities that has Nestlé IT innovation carry out today? No, so basically, this is the next thing. Let's talk about the specific projects that we are working and we worked in the past.
Yeah, great. So yes, it all started like before the pandemic. We really wanted within the global IT innovation team to start something big. And to start something big, you need to start something. So we had to find a place, a factory to do a local pilot. So we're lucky because we're based in Barcelona, David and myself. We have a factory called the Nestlé Nescafé Dolce Gusto factory, which is in Girona. So we went there because, when you work in an office, you don't have like the day-to-day life with all those factory operators, so you don't really know what their pain point is, what their major concerns are. So we went to discuss with those guys, with some internal people who, it's all about connecting together. So we went to Girona and just to convince them to start a pilot, a VR pilot. So we started engaging with Immerse about putting together a business case around working at heights, confined spaces, all those factory workers when they are in a dangerous situation. We thought that virtual reality was the best tool to do things, to learn things, being in a safe environment. So we started doing this with the Spanish factory. So everything was in Spanish, of course. Then to be able to scale this and to convince HQ, HQ at Nestlé is in Vevey in Switzerland. So we need to translate the content in English. So that's what we did together. And we went with our virtual reality headsets to Vevey. We traveled there. We met some very high-level people and put the headset on, and they just realized that yes, that was a game changer. So that's when the decision was made to make this global. So what happened is that once we convinced those guys to take the lead on this, they put some subject matter experts on working at height, on confined spaces, on lotto procedures, to be working with us, because I'm not a safety expert. David is not a safety expert. So we were always together with those guys, with the Immerse team, with the VRdirect team, trying to speak the same language to be able to do something big. And that's what happened. So now we rolled out this global VR training around first those factory environments. Then this year we started to do like warehouse safety, packaging safety, and finally we've just launched a program for office safety. So at the beginning we started again small. The factory people are like 120,000 people worldwide, but since that makes sense to make something available for all the workforce at Nestlé, we thought that it should be interesting, like to give a solution for people working in offices too, so everyone can realize that this is a cutting-edge technology that needs to be implemented in a company like Nestlé. So that's the first one, the one you have on screen, and then we'll go back 1 second on the previous slide. You see, like we have at the moment 6 VR modules that have been rolled out. We're in the middle of what we call the localization, because again, like this is modules which are like in English. So we have a global presence. We have many markets. I can give you a couple of examples. For example, Vietnam is a country where like there's a lot of innovation going on. So they were the first one to ask for the localization. The Spanish market, German market, French market, those are huge. So we're in the middle of this with Justin and the team. So for the beginning of 2023, everything gets ready. And in terms of investment about virtual reality headsets, so that may seem as a low number, but it's just 200 headsets for the moment being deployed globally. But again, this is just the beginning. It took us almost 3 years to make a real impact, and this is the start of the journey.
And this is related with the next question. It is just, and this is for all of you, please try to, we would like also to have several questions from the audience. So with what's next, basically, and feel free to discuss between you now.
Of course. So yeah, sure. What's next? We have like 2 big challenges ahead. So it's keep strengthening this VR4 training space, because again, I'm a strong believer, and it's not something new, that this should be a technology such as VR should be at the core of the training program in a company like Nestlé. And we've been exploring as well since last year, like all this collaboration space. You have some players around in the conference to have a good look and feel. So these are, let's say, the two major challenges.
And this is related with several other stuff that maybe we were discussing in the past. Now, which are the challenges that companies are facing in corporate? No, when they are trying to this mesh, and they do not have any structured program to go well to scale this technology.
Yeah, I was going to say, just on the basis of what Jeremy was talking about there, that's deploying the training that we've done around health and safety has been, I would say, very challenging for a few different reasons. One is the localization point that Jeremy mentioned, because there's actually 50 countries in there that we're rolling out to. And the app that we originally built, or the apps that we originally built, weren't built with localization in mind. So it's one of the things I would actually really urge, if you're building an app that has a chance that it's going to be rolled out to many countries, to think about that localization piece, because we've had to go back to the application and look at things like voiceover, the text in the UI, and obviously make sure that speaks to the local language. And there's quite a lot of work in there, so that drives a lot of complexity. But the other thing is also just distribution as well, because one of the things that we as a company come across all the time is that the operational context for rolling these things out varies so wildly, you can't have a single solution. So right at the beginning, we were thinking, everybody will want to do single sign-on and bring their users in, and then they'll get an email, and then they'll log in, and it's kind of all the things that you're used to as sort of standard flows in consumer tech or even in other enterprise software. But actually, because of the specifics of the hardware and how they're rolled out, that is often really, really not the case. So you end up with a whole bunch of different ways that you've got to essentially get the content into the hands of the learner. And with the health and safety stuff, that proves to be a real problem because actually it wasn't felt that all of the learners would know their Nestlé credentials. They may not have access to even the internet. They may not have an email address that they would use or that they would know because they work in factories. So it's just really, really complicated. So essentially we had to go back and from our perspective as a platform provider, introduce a whole bunch of new flows to support this getting the hands of the content into these kinds of learners. And these are the things that hide away behind the content. You know, it's nice looking at the sort of images and stuff and the 3D and all that. But actually, some of the really complex things lie in taking that, which we know can deliver results and outcomes as the ones that are on the screen. We know that can be done if the content's good. The problems actually lie in how you then scale that, how you get that into people's hands. And that's a great journey that we've been on with Jeremy and the team because we've been able to work through those problems together. But we still continue to tackle them. We've got 2 new languages, did you say, like today? It was.
Yeah, now today is just a request from today from Serbia and Bulgaria.
Yeah, so we've got some more languages
translation,
to sort out there. But I mean, it's an ongoing process. But yeah, it's that. From our perspective, we're just always thinking beyond the content. The content's king, so that has to be there. That is the most important thing. There isn't a proposition without it, but you have to have all the other stuff as well to really make this fly.
Yeah, and I mean, coming back to really kind of, because we could discuss forever what's coming in the next 3 to 5 years. We could talk about several technologies. Everybody has a different opinion, but at the same time, we all have the same opinion. We all know it's a really fragmented market. And I mean, you've already touched on that right now, and you as well. So I think the important thing is to start today, because it's a really good time. And to really think about kind of what the target group is and which area in the company you want to start with, or if you want to kind of do it like Nestle does, but already since 3 years, kind of, starting from different angles and really trying to build up different use cases with different providers, but not always waiting for the one solution that solves it all, because it's not going to come along, at least not in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. We have many different technologies. We don't have a standard yet. And I think, but we have great opportunities already, great possibilities. I mean, we, for example, at VRdirect, we try to mitigate this problem of fragmented systems and non-compatibility by allowing to distribute projects via web, but also mobile, but also having native apps for leading VR systems for factory workers who need offline solutions because they will not be able to rely on stable internet connections. This is the time today, so there are already really flexible solutions. There's great content libraries like yours building up. So there are tons of possibilities, and it is possible to start and to scale today. We really crossed the pilot phase, I would say. And companies really need to prove that there's a real benefit. They cannot, a division cannot say today, oh, I want to do a POC and I need a big budget. They really need to show that they can roll that out and that they can scale. And it is possible today, but it's just really important to kind of believe in it and to look at the solutions exactly and kind of to find the right partners to work together and to not kind of compete against each other, but to kind of help you solve your different problems.
So I think that we are on time. I think that just we have a few minutes. I don't know if we have time for questions or.
Can I have, yes. Actually, we are going to go to a break, so we can get, although we have 50 seconds left for the session, we can have a couple of questions just because we're going to the break. And question here.
I was just curious if you've been adopting any sort of VR apps for mental wellness, because that's a big trend happening right now.
That's a good question. It's still a very early stage. Again, I was saying 3 years ago there was nothing at Nestlé all around that space. So these are definitely the use cases we have identified. First, we're going to be focusing on safety and training. Let's say, generally speaking, we need to identify key stakeholders, but that could definitely be a use case to deep dive into. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Jose Varela from Entity Data. I wanted to ask you, Jeremy, about the biggest challenges in your role, because I know the technology can be difficult. I know the technology, I work in it, and the scaling is difficult. But from your perspective as a champion and the person that pushes the technology within the organization, such as Nestle, what were the biggest challenges?
That's a good question. The biggest challenge, not only for me, but for David, because we team up and we form a pair, is to convince the people and first to connect with the right people, the people who are, let's say, the decision makers in an organization such as Nestle. Because first, we're a food company, we're not an innovation company, so the main priorities are not always the one we think are the ones. So this is what makes our job difficult. But on a positive note, the most exciting here is that you never stop learning. And that's why it's so exciting when you go to people and you come up with new use cases, with new technology, new hardware, new software. There's always something we can add that at some point will make people at a high level understand that we need to be in the XR space. So we're confident, but again, it takes a lot of time to make things happen.
Thank you very much. One last question. If there is one more, maybe no. Okay, David and our dear panelists, thank you very much for the great session.
Thank you.